As nightfall cloaked our encampment in a dusky veil, and we nestled close to the flickering campfire for warmth, there was an air of solemnity hanging over us like mist upon rolling fields at dawn. The flames danced hypnotically, as if they were trying to lull me into forgetting our present woes through their mesmerizing ballators, stark contrast from the day's arduous marching and clashing swords that had left many of us battered but unbowed in spirit. The cold English air kissed my cheeks, whispering tales of autumnal equinox to come while I meticulously polished each gleaming plate on the helmet resting upon a sturdy wooden stand near the fire's edge, an armor that had seen better days, but bore no less courage in its scuffed and worn visage. My fingers traced intricate patterns of wear, pondering over my life, as I did so young parliamentarian cavalryman court between devotion to a cause greater than himself, the pursuit of liberty from monarchical tyranny that sought no such right upon others or themselves, but seemed blindly self-serving. Between cleanings we gathered around in huddles, as close together as moss on an ancient stone wall, and sung psalms aloud or humble prayer for strength to endure the struggle ahead, while offering solace amidst uncertainty of outcome or fate that lay before us like a darkened path through uncharted woods. I closed my eyes, letting faith cradle me within its warm embrace, as we sang praises not only meant for God, but also toward unity in purpose and belief, which had become our steadfast anchor during this tempestuous time of civil discord that threatened to rend the very fabric of English society apart at seams. As I straightened from my reverie, wiping away remnants of soot with a cloth dampened by dew-kissed grasses and embers heat on an armor plate still hot enough for such tasks despite nightfall hours past, the reflection within began to take shape, or clear image cast into existence as if from molten glass. I am but one man among many who believe that King Charles is a monarch not of divine right nor appointed by God himself. Rather his rule seems an affliction born out of greed and misjudgment, where the crown's lust for power eclipses any sense of justice or good governance. This parliamentarian foresay am proud to serve as one among many steadfast souls who seek no glory nor riches, but only what we consider justly earned by our collective labor under a banner that carries the weight of shared ideals and principles, values which guide us toward building an England free from despotism. Our new model army stands united, not merely as soldiers on horseback or foot in rigid formation against foes, but also embodies hope for a new society where men shall govern themselves by their own hands without fear of oppression. The cold night air wrapped around me like an invisible mantle, while I continued my task at the helmet, pondering further upon our causes, virtues, and imperatives, each stroke away from grime revealing not only metal but also resolve within myself, or conviction to see through this uprising until peace or a new era is brought forth by necessity of action rather than divine ordination. It was then that I heard the distant sound of marching boots, their rhythmic cadence resonating like heartbeats as they approached our encampment, soldiers and commanders alike sharing in this momentary reprieve from strife for which we had bared ourselves with such resolve to achieve what seemed an impossible dream. I stood still amidst the din of men's voices, allowing their conversation a mistake of fearless spirits discussing tactics while offering camaraderie like familial kinship under shared shelter from a world beyond our encampment that was no longer recognizable to us who had seen its better days. Yet here we stood together, an army unyielded by division or dissent within ranks, but instead bound tightly as one collective soul yearning for change amidst the trials of war and uncertainty, which seemed never-ending like waves crashing upon rock faces with relentless force, yet always retreating back into sea's embrace. As my thoughts wandered towards these men around me, comrades from differing walks of life, each a unique thread within this tapestry we had come to call home away from our homes and hearthstones, I realized that what united us was far more prof. As dusk settled and painted the sky with strokes of fading light, we found ourselves in a place neither here nor there, but rather somewhere between dreams and reality, at the edge of battlefields that had become our unintended journey through time's relentless march. The day ahead promised little respite from this existence, where sleep was often sacrificed at the altar of survival, yet tonight we sought solace among strangers who became brothers in arms under a crescent moon's watchful eye. The air carried with it whispers of rebellion and change, notions that felt as distant to us nowhere-nighters as stars are obscured by the veil of night, yet tantalizingly close like dreams just beyond reach and wakefulness grasp. It was here, on this very ground or patchwork quilt, where each square held a different tale from lands afar and hearts that beat with hope for what lay at it, that I allowed myself to let go of the day's chaos, surrendering my worries, as one might release leaves into an autumnal stream. The encampment buzzed like bees in springtime fields just before dawn's chill, a symphony orchestrated by human resilience and shared purpose that filled me with unexpected warmth amidst the coldness of our Suicide life had taken on armor against despair. I joined my comrades, men whose faces bore stories etched in courage to each one unique as fingerprints, yet unified by a singular cause forged from shared suffering and yearning. We were soldiers now, bound not just to duty but kinship, warriors of fate who found strength intertwined with the fibers of their souls, stitched together like threads in an endless tapestry that extended beyond our encampment's horizon, where once green pastures whispered tales of simpler times. As night deepened its embrace around us and silence befell conversation's fervid echoes, or stark contrast to the day when we stood shoulder to shoulder, shield against storm forged in brotherhood born from necessity's handmaiden need, I felt a kinship stronger than bloodlines that flowed through our veins. For here, within this encampment of unity and shared struggle, was where my heart found an anchor amidst the tempestuous sea we navigated each day, knowing well that storm would rage again come dawn's unforgiving light. But for tonight I could not help myself. To forget our journey required me first remembering it. So here, within these humble tents and huddled figures that resembled more closely a family than an army, we shared stories of home fragments, like shards from lives paused by circumstance's cruel hand, but never fully severed, as if to reassure ourselves all was not lost in the whirlwind. We listened with intent ears for tales no longer spoken at our hearthstones, and hearts that ached a touch too deeply, yet we found solace together. Laughter mingled freely between shared tears of understanding, while comfort came wrapped in blankets stitched by loving hands back home, a reminder warm enough to make me forget the bitterness wrought from war's unyielding hand. And then, as night yielded its sovereignty grudgingly to morning's approach, I found myself gazing out at a sky blushing with first light, wherein darkness had receded like waves before the shore, a promise of renewal and hope that whispered soft encouragement for our resolve. We stood as one collective soul, unwavered by division or dissent within ranks, yet bound tightly together in spirit through shared trials amidst uncertainty's relentless tide, just like waves retreating back into the sea's embrace after crashing with ferocious intent upon rocky shores. I realized that what united us was not merely circumstance or hardship, but rather an indomitable will to see a world change, a vision of peace where once stood only war. For through this journey we were more than soldiers in battle's grim theater. We became ambassadors bearing the torchlight against shadows that threatened our humanity. As dawn crept upon us, and with it came another day's labor to face an enemy not just of flesh but also of ideology, I felt a fierce determination kindle within my chest, a desire for justice, fairness, even as we knew the path was fraught with unforeseen perils. Our voices melded into one another in spirited discourse about strategy and tactics, yet also touched on dreams. The silence of our camp felt deeper and more profound that night as we lay under a canopy woven from myriad stars, each one seemingly aware of its own significance in guiding us through this shared ordeal. My thoughts turned to the day's events, how they had been marked by an unyielding sense of unity among our ranks, and even within ourselves a bond not easily forged, but as strong as steel when tested against adversity's flame. Yet, in this quiet moment, where time seemed suspended between dusk till dawn's first light, we were all haunted by the specters that danced just beyond our campfire glow, memories of loss and scars etched into heartwood with every battle won or lost against forces unseen. These thoughts did not disrupt, but rather deepened my resolve to carry forth a mission greater than any single soldier crusade for peace, in which the very essence of our being was on trial, as much within ourselves as it was before those who wore ideologies like armor and weapons against flesh and blood kin. In this shared vision that united us, all beyond mere military necessity or survival instincts laid bare by war's unforgiving hand, were a community seeking to mend the very fabric of society, torn asunder not only in bodies, but also within souls and spirits yearning for reconciliation. Within this collective resolve was our strength. It flowed through us like lifeblood that gave purpose beyond duty's call or compass, leading toward an end where harmony reigned over discord, understanding supplanted suspicion, and empathy healed the wounds of strife. Our voices echoing in spirited discussion as we planned our next steps towards this grand endeavor had become more than tactical deliberations. They intertwined with dreams for a world where children could grow up without fear or hatred shadowing their every step, and leaders stood not above but alongside those they served. As the first light of dawn began to peek over distant hills beyond our camp's horizon, a timid glow that heralded change as surely as it marked daybreak's arrival, found within myself a fire kindled by purpose, fanned into existence not only for justice, but also fairness. It was with this fierce determination I faced the coming days when confronting an enemy whose heart harbored no such resolve to live in peace or share our common humanity. It sought dominion over what we treasured most dear of freedom, dignity, and brotherhood bound by shared struggle rather than divided bloodlines. Our plans for the coming day were set with care as one voice among many became a melody of strategies that spoke to both mind and heart. Our tactical approach was meticulous yet adaptive, like water carving canyons through stone, understanding well-timed strikes would create openings where solidarity could flourish amidst the thorns. Yet, even as we honed in on methods for survival, the art of war itself, a language that whispered secrets to those willing but few who listened with intent rather than fear, it became evident our battle was not only against flesh and ideology. It transcended into one where every heartbeat echoed the call for change. The sun's ascent offered no respite from knowing we would soon walk through fire to reach a new day's hopeful light. However, in that darkness before dawn, in those moments between night and morning when all seemed possible or impossible, there was solace found within each other, not just for the struggle ahead, but also amidst life's transient beauty. The stars above had retreated into memory as their final glow faded with sunrise, leaving behind a canvas of awakening azure that painted our faces and hearts alike in hues unknown to those who slept through nighttime's passage, untouched by dream or need for rest's embrace. We arose together then, not merely as soldiers bound by shared purpose, but also kindred spirits whose souls had been touched by something greater, love that defied reason, transcending the realms of politics and power to touch upon a common humanity we each sought to protect or restore with every breath drawn into our lungs. For in this journey, where shadows loomed as large spectres casting fear across lands torn apart by strife, it became abundantly clear that what united us was not the hardships endured nor even shared goals, but rather an impenetrable will to see a world mended or testament carved out of trials and tribulation. As we set forth from camp with our plans cast like sea as dawn's first light caressed our faces with its gentle touch, we found ourselves embarking on a journey that promised to be as arduous as it was vital for humanity's fragile peace. With every step taken towards an uncertain horizon, the warmth of camaraderie and love between us acted like fuel in this vessel carrying souls intertwined with destinies far beyond personal survival to heal a fractured world where division had been allowed to bleed into our hearts as surely as rivers carve valleys through ancient stone. Our travels led us from the camp, each of us bearing silent testimonies etched in scars and stories that spoke louder than any decree or battle cry ever could, or pilgrimage towards mending not just lands but spirits we had come to recognize as kin under a shared sky. The road ahead was fraught with the unmistakable weight of what lay behind us, yet within this burden there thrived an unexpected light mist born from trust in each other and faith that our collective humanity might just be enough to overcome towering shadows cast by history's darkest deeds. It was during these ventures into territories where the sunlight struggled against night's lingering chill, beneath canopies too dense for any but those who sought refuge from their own histories and fears within them, that we encountered echoes of lives lived before our time, voices carried by whispers on wings or tales told with a glow in the eyes reflecting back as what it meant to live through times when hope seemed as thin as morning mist. Yet Despite such encounters and their poignant reminders of humanity's capacity for both greatness and woe, our resolve did not waver. We were bound by the knowledge that in each other's presence lay a promissory chance to rewrite narratives where once warring nations might find themselves united under banners painted with symbols born from unity rather than division. It was this vision which steered us forward even when uncertainty threatened to pull back into shadows. Our days were spent in earnest dialogue and mediation among those who had known neither the comfort of sleep nor peace for far too long communities where children learned not just from books, but also through shared experiences that transcended borders as naturally invisible barriers, their laughter mingling with our resolve like a melody woven into an anthem of recovery. In these interactions and exchanges of wisdom between the youngest minds, eager to learn about compassion in its myriad forms, her concept not foreign to us, but all too rare elsewhere, found pieces of ourselves scattered across generations, forging bonds that would serve as bridges over chasms wrought by hatred and misunderstanding. And at nights, when the world outside seemed alien or hostile in its silence, we gathered around flickering flames with tales from far-off lands or histories entwined like roots beneath ancient forests that have stood witness to countless seasons of change yet remain steadfastly intertwined. Through these stories, shared and listened to with rapt attention, my friends old and new alike, we found solace not in escapism, but rather the strengthening of resolve, as if each tale were a thread pulling tighter around our collective heartstrings until they resembled an unbreakable bond itself. But most poignant was how this journey shaped us at home, senses keenly attuned to empathy, allowing every hardship endured or small act of kindness shared between warring sides not just as individual triumphs, but as pivotal moments in a grand narrative where humanity's essence could be restored. In the reflection of each other's faces and hands, weathered yet strong with determination, our own visages bore witness to transformations more profound than skin, deeper rebirth of hope that even after seasons spent amidst strife, dawn might still bring forth light undimmed by night's encroachment. Thus did we continue through fields where crops whispered secrets beneath the soil and along rivers whose currents carried tales from far-off lands. Each step upon this road towards a future unwritten yet imagined with vivid clarity between us was like tracing fingerprint smudges on glass that promised to become windows into worlds not so different after all. Our shared purpose became the heartbeat of progress, its pulse echoed in every handshake and embrace as we traversed divides too often fortified by fear or greed, or testament borne out from trials, etched within our very souls, that together where others could mend as twilight embraced our world in its tender hues of gold and violet, we found ourselves standing on a hill overlooking an expanse that seemed to stretch into eternity, or vast sea mirroring skies' ceaseless dance between daylight and dusk. It was here upon this tranquil shore where the past melded with present reflections, as though each granule of sand were inscribed with tales, both ancient and intimate, whispering stories to those patient enough to listen beneath their breathless silence. Our group had grown close during our arduous journey through lands that bore the scars left by years of conflict, scars not easily healed, but slowly fading underneath a tender touch like leaves retreating before autumn's chill embrace. The bonds we formed were as intricate and delicate as spider silk, each thread representing shared experiences woven into the very fabric of our beings that defied unraveling even when tugged upon by life's relentless winds. However gentle they might blow across this earth. In chapters past, chapter 4, to remember them as such in time's vast library had sought not just reconciliation, but a deeper understanding that transcended the need for words, finding solace instead within shared glances and unspoken promises exchanged beneath canopies of whispering leaves. We learned from nature's enduring patience as we discovered ourselves in her undying cyclus of birth to death, decay giving way to regrowth amidst ruins left behind by tempests both literal and emotional that once ravaged these very lands. And so it was beneath the emerald embrace of foliage where our laughter mingled with rustling leaves as we played games not just for amusement, but a reminder that joy could still find its home within us, even when roots were severed from ancestral grounds or skies darkened by unfamiliar storms. It was in this sacred space between earth and sky where the air seemed imbued with magic and enchantment so profoundly human yet alien to our sterile existence that it demanded we pause, listen intently for its melody hidden within each other's heartbeats echoing through chests like ancestral drums. The next chapter found us wandering along the banks of a river whose waters bore witness cradled in their tender arms as they flowed untroubled by sorrows carried from distant corners across this fragmented world, whispering secrets only felt rather than heard, tales that traversed through time immemorial, with every ripple upon its surface. As night approached, and the crescent moon ascended to claim her throne in a sky now adorned solely for sleepers below our shared blanket of stars, we gathered around an ancient fire whose flickering flames danced like spirits longing to tell us their tales, without words, but with warmth that seeped into bones and hearts alike. Our journey continued through fields where crops whispered secrets beneath the soil as if rooted in silent counsel, sharing burdens carried since time immemorial, wisdom gleaned from generations before who themselves had learned to listen for nature's subtle heartbeat, a rhythm not unlike our own pulsating lifeblood. Herein lay lessons that transcended mere survival and delved into the essence of what it meant to truly live, understanding this shared existence as though each being were threads in an ever-evolving tapestry woven by countless hands throughout history's grand lunar testament, not just to resilience but enduring hope. We ventured forth into the embrace of darkness, where stars peeked through like guardians shielding us from night's full might, their gentle light offering solace as we shared stories around our newfound hearth built within an abandoned chaplet's hollow walls echoing with reverberations that spoke to spirits long departed. It was here amidst the solemnity of this sacred space, where souls intertwined in a dance older than memory, their fates entwined by destiny's hand, as they moved through darkness towards dawn's first light, an eternal promise carved upon our hearts that love might ever be found if we only dared to seek. Chapters unfolded like petals unfurling from a flower yet never fully bloomed, each revealing depth within us previously unknown and hidden beneath layers of fear or doubt. For though war's shadow had long darkened our world's heart, it could not extinguish the light that dwelt deepest in every human spirit. It was as if time, as we settled into our new hearth within the chapel's embrace, a strange calmness found its way to us, or silent promise that even in times of great turmoil and darkness, hope could still find refuge amongst us all. It was on one such night, when time itself seemed suspended between two breaths, we began our journey into storytelling under the watchful eyes of stars veiled behind softly moving clouds. They whispered ancient tales that only hearts attuned to history's subtle language could truly understand and appreciate in their full depth. The stories flowed like a stream over stones, each one carrying with it lessons from epochs past, or testament not just of survival but also the rich tapestry of human existence that threads through time as intricately woven patterns on history's grand weaving loom. We listened to tales of empires rising and falling like ebbing waves upon a shore where heroes became legends whose names were carried forth by wind-borne songs across continents, or universal narrative that echoed the enduring spirit within all beings seeking purpose in their fleeting moments amidst an indifferent universe. With each tale told and shared around our sacred fire's gentle glow, a deeper understanding of interconnectedness took root among us. We grasped at threads pulled taut by destiny itself, our lives entwined with the souls that had come before in this very chapel, whose stone walls bore witness to prayers whispered for peace and salvation. As one might find solace upon a bed of velvety clouds, so too did our spirits seek comfort within these stories. They were lullabies sung by voices long silenced, but never forgotten, or collective memory that bound us together in solidarity as we faced the encroaching night with newfound hope. The darkness outside seemed to wrap itself around each of us like a thick blanket, offering no escape from its enveloping grasp. Yet, within this hallowed space where divine intervention had once been sought for solace against life's relentless torrents, found strength in unity and the shared human experience that transcended time. It was as if every flicker of candlelight danced upon our faces, revealing stories etched deep within us, tales not spoken aloud but felt through ancient blood coursing along veins inherited from generations past, whose struggles were mirrored in their own lives and the ones that would follow after. Our journey became a pilgrimage or spiritual odyssey across landscapes both real and imagined, where we sought answers not just to survive, but thrive amidst chaos, our souls aching for connection with those whose whispers still lingered on the precipice of consciousness. We ventured forth into this darkness, guided by an invisible thread that wove its way through countless hearts and minds, or promise etched upon each one as if time itself had imprinted hope in our very essence, a belief that love might ever be found within every step taken towards dawn's first light. The chapel became more than just an abandoned structure surrounded by nature's embrace, but rather a sanctuary where spirits could commune beyond the realm of physical existence, a place pulsating with energies once believed lost to history and modernity alike. It was as if we had stumbled upon time's secret garden that bloomed amidst ruins left by war's relentless march. Here, in this sacred space where light fought valiantly against the encroaching night, we discovered our purpose not just for survival, but to live with intention and awareness. Knowing now how interconnected every heartbeat was, like a symphony played upon strings of empathy that resonated deep within. Our stories unfolded together as petals unfurling from the budding flower before us, each tale revealing depths previously unknown or hidden beneath layers of fear and doubt, weaving threads through time's loom with every word uttered into being. Our shared experiences became brushstrokes upon history's canvas, where we painted images not just for ourselves, but also as a legacy passed down to future generations seeking solace amid life's ebbing tides. As one, bound by destiny and the unyielding belief in humanity's resilience, have transcended mere survival into understanding that true existence lay within connection with each other, our past selves, ancestors whose whispers echoed through this sacred space where souls intertwined like dancers upon an ancient floor. The night wore on as stories were shared and hearts opened at her covenant, sealed not just by words spoken but felt within, as dawn's tender fingers began to caress the horizon with hues of promise and renewal. Our assembly no longer just companions, but family bound by shared trials and triumphs, found solace in a new rhythm that danced within us like an ancient melody. The night had been generous with its stories. Each tale spun from threads dyed the deepest shades of blue, as if they were born of water itself, flowing into one another to form rivers whose currents carried wisdom and lessons learned through our collective journey. We nestled in a circle upon earth's bosom, under canopies where trees stood like sentinels holding the secrets of countless seasons within their rings. These guardians had witnessed history themselves, offering shelter to civilizations that once flourished and withered away as leaves turned from green to gold. Our eyes closed in reverence for nature's enduring watchfulness over humanity's passage through time, or testament to the resilience of life itself amidst trials, by fire or ice, famine harsher than winter rains, and darkness more profound than dreamless sleep under starlit skies. In hushed voices that barely stirred air around us, we recounted tales from our respective homelands, each one a mirror reflecting the multitude of human expressions, joyous celebrations where laughter echoed like bells in valleys, and cries during times when even hope seemed to wither. We spoke not just as survivors, but as bearers of history's flame, our words a light on parchment that felt no need for the permanence promised by paper or screens, since we knew their essence would be carried forward in memory and spirit alone, like seeds sown into fertile soil to bloom anew when next they were needed. With every story told beneath this sacred dome of intertwined branches, a sense grew within us that our own threads had become part of something larger than ourselves. Each narrative woven was like water nurturing roots spread wide across generations, unseen or distant, yet ever present, binding together the essence of souls separated by time's relentless march. Our shared histories became a tapestry upon which future kindred spirits might find comfort and guidance as they navigated their own paths through stormy seas toward calmer waters, guided not just by stars overhead, but also within themselves, a compass crafted from stories told in whispers beneath ancient leaves, where dreams could take flight. As the sun climbed higher with its golden chariot racing across vast skies painted azure above us and amber-hued horizons beyond, we continued to explore realms of empathy within our hearts, delving into depths once uncharted territories, for fear or doubt had erected walls too tall even love itself could not scale. Yet here in this hidden garden, where history whispered secrets and futures were shaped by the courage found only when standing together upon life's fragile ground, we learned that understanding transcends language. Our silent conversation held between beating hearts across timescapes vast as oceans, or narrow valleys etched into mountains' sides. The tales grew richer with each exchange. Our shared histories became a wellspring of inspiration to create hope where once only shadows had cast their pall over dreams from a built from the fragments left by war's relentless march, now reconstructed into monuments that stood not as reminders, but beacons guiding us forward toward brighter days ahead. Our stories became like watercolor strokes upon history's canvas. Our experiences blended together, forming a portrait of humanity with every hue representing the spectrum between despair and hope, sorrow intertwined with joy so intricately that one could not be understood without acknowledging its counterpart in eternal dance as old as time itself. Within this sacred space where souls found respite from life's relentless march upon fragile mortal frames or brittle spirits, we learned to listen for the echoes of our ancestors, their whispers carried on wind that moved through leaves like fingers tracing tales across time's table. These voices reminded us that while bodies may be broken and lands lay in ruins by wars waged under hollow promises or selfish desires, spirits remain unshackled, free to transcend boundaries imposed upon fleshly vessels where once only division had taken root, forging connections across continents separated not just by miles, but also hearts that beat as one. As the night receded like an ocean retreating from shores too tender for its frothy kiss, our assembly or collective in Chapter 8 of our journey through time and tales, we find ourselves nestled under a canopy woven with stars as old friends, sharing whispered secrets on cool nights that never felt too warm or uncomfortably cold to touch. The land here is fertile from the stories sown into its very essence. Our place, where once ravaged soil, drenched in tears and sorrow for generations past conflicts, begins anew with seeds of hope planting themselves firmly within each furrow's embrace as a testament to our shared resilience. The people here have learned the ancient art of listening not only through their ears, but also by feeling life's rhythms flow beneath their feet and healing energies that swirl around them like mist caressing mountain peaks at dawn's first light. These gatherings are sacred, with each person contributing a piece to restore the mosaic of community or tapestry woven not just from broken shards, but also threads glistening with promise and potential, as if every soul here is an artist adding their own unique hue within this vast masterpiece. Our children, small beings whose laughter often sounds like chimes in the wings of change, engage eagerly when tales are spun that speak not only to history but also its future symphony, where every note is a possibility and harmony lies between understanding one's past and shaping tomorrow. They learn from elders who dance with words as if they were leaves in an autumn gust, telling stories of their own experiences blended into the very essence of being here. Tales that evoke images so vivid you can almost touch them upon your skin or taste emotions on your tongue like ambrosia. The elders recount with reverent voices how they once knew division and fear as companions in darker days when land was scarred by strife. Yet now we speak of unity or shared language that transcends spoken words, a dialect rooted deeply within our intertwined hearts beating together. Here, at this juncture between the worlds old and new, lies an unspoken promise. For every tear shed on battlefields long gone by or riverbanks, where once water bore witness to tragedy, there is now also laughter and shared meals that taste of both earth's bounty and human compassion. The night sky unfolds above us, her canopy resplendent with constellations untouched since before the world knew sorrow or joy too well. Stars twinkling like ancient lamps, guiding our wayward spirits back to tranquility, as if they are but a reflection of light upon water, ever fluid yet constant. This is where history and hope converge, where even under an endless sea of diamonds in the sky we find ourselves cradled by warmth from fireside tales that echo with laughter amidst solemn truths, stories told as if they were leaves caught within a gentle stream's current, flowing into our consciousness to quench thirst for belonging and understanding. In this sacred space where souls find respite or place beyond time's relentless march or life's incessant demands upon fragile mortal frames, we learn that while bodies may falter under the weight of years, spirits remain unshackled, free to transcend any division born out from conflict. And as our assembly here becomes an echo chamber for unity rather than discordance, we find ourselves connected not by chains, but threads stronger and more resilient, or cords spun with shared experiences that bind tighter within each heart's core despite the miles or seas which separate us on this earth's vast expanse. As our gathering continues beneath celestial wonders, we are reminded by ancient voices carried through wind and water alike while wars may rage under hollow promises wrapped in greed, or vanity cloaks her darkness that blinds the heart, to human kindnesses true lighter spirits remain untethered. They soar on wings not of feathers but woven with threads from every soul, transcending any boundary imposed upon fleshly vessels where once only division had taken root, forging connections across continents that felt worlds apart yet are inseparable now as we stand towed for a course rising like the dawn greets each new day. So here under night's watchful eye our assembly hums with a resonance beyond mere sound waves or physical presence within these hallowed grounds. It is an energy that seeps into every crevice and corner of this world we have rebuilt towed for a testament to the indomitable spirit dwelling deep in each one's in Chapter 9 of our tale, that mirrors humanity's resilience and unity amidst adversities. We find ourselves at another juncture where each member's narrative threads together to form a rich tapestry reflecting shared dreams against the backdrop of Earth's vast landscapes. It is here, among these lands, that our stories unfold a mosaic of lives and souls bound by empathy rather than circumstance, their roots entwined in mutual respect across cultures as diverse as flora upon a single fertile soil bedrocked with understanding. As the night sky twinkles above us like scattered stars, atop our collective canopy of unity, we look toward ancient traditions and modern wisdom to guide our journey forward, former rooting in age-old practices that honor every breath given by a mother or father for their kin, the latter embraced with open arms as technology bridges gaps between generations separated not just by time but also experiences. These days of remembrance weave into nights where laughter and tears blend seamlessly, shared under canopies that whisper tales older than our oldest monument stales, were written in the hearts they now inhabit, with each beat a testament to enduring connections beyond mere physicality or proximity. Our gathering finds strength not only within these walls of kinship, but also as we venture out into nature's embrace, where rivers carry stories from mountains and valleys across continents merge in harmonious flow or metaphor for our joined destinies that ripple through the fabric of existence. We come to understand how each step taken upon this earth is a shared pilgrimage toward compassionate coexistence. Every act, whether it be planting trees or cleansing waters, reflects reverence not only towards nature, but also for one another's well-being, or silent oath under the watchful gaze of guardians above. In our communal garden, hands unite in soil as seeds are sown with care and intention. This living symbol is a constant reminder that growth must be nurtured both within ourselves and amongst all who share this world, or testament to how even the most disparate lives can flourish when watered by empathy. The blossoms here speak of our interconnectedness, their petals unfurling in quiet symphony under a sun that illuminates more than just daylight, but also hope and shared aspirations, or beacon guiding us toward an era where no one stands alone as we sow the seeds for future generations. As nightfall blankets our assembly, it is here among these gardens of humanity's collective spirit that souls find solace in each other's presence, hearts beat together even when apart by distance or circumstance, a resonant chorus humming a lullaby to the weary and celebrating joy for those fortunate. Our gathering, like an intricate quilt stitched with threads from every soul's journey across continents, now feels not just united but inseparable as stories of resilience continue to be woven into its fabric by hands that know the strength inherent within unity, or chorus rising each night under skies awash with stars, a reminder of our shared humanity. So it is here where we lay down our burdens and rest in one another's embrace. Dreams are whispered into slumber's tender ear, as the earth cradles us beneath her vast sky or blanket woven from threads, spun across continents that felt worlds apart yet now meld seamlessly together. In this shared haven, every beat of our hearts is a drum signaling we have not just survived, but thrived on connections stronger than any chain forged in times past. And as the night deepens its hues around us like an artist's final stroke upon his masterpiece of tranquil assurance, that dawn will greet each new day, bringing light to reveal a tapestry of unity even more vivid with every thread interlaced. In Chapter 9, we find ourselves in the twilight hours where our assembly resonates not just within these sacred grounds, but echoes through the very essence that sustains us. Our connection is palpable and vitalizing as air itself. It is a bond unbroken by distance or time. Our stories continue to unfold beneath celestial wonders, each chapter adding layers of depth to our shared narrative where laughter mingles with tears like the purest water mixing in an ocean or confluence that brings about healing not just for individuals, but also societies at large. As we navigate through this life's journey, the night unfurled its velvet canopy over us as we lingered in our communal abode, or testament to human resilience and unity that no war nor distance could sever or diminish. The stars above winked knowingly at the closeness of souls beneath their gaze, while a gentle breeze carried with it whispers of shared stories from lands afar, each one as distinctive yet harmonious in its melody, like different instruments playing in an orchestral symphony under moonlight. In our intertwining narratives lay the threads that bound us in intricate pattern, weaving together tales, old and new, with a vibrancy only seen when hearts are open to receive one another's truths, each piece essential for this mosaic of humanity harmony. We spoke in hushed tones about how our ancestors had once looked upon the world as an ocean vast enough that we could barely fathom its expanse or imagine ourselves belonging. But here under the stars and sky was where they called home, within these verdant embraces of nature, a place beyond politics and borders, but only defined by love for one another and respect for our shared earth mother. Our laughter echoed through ancient trees that had borne witness to countless seasons, their leaves whispering secrets as old as time itself into the ears eagerly tuned in with a collective breath of anticipation, a resonance felt deep within bones and hearts alike, where joy was abundant even amidst sorrow's shadow. As we shared our dreams among ourselves under this celestial tapestry, each one spun from experiences as varied as the hues that danced across the heavens above us in silent applause for their beauty, or constellation of hopes and aspirations guiding every wishful yearning. As dawn painted her first strokes upon night's canvas with tender grace, we knew our stories were not just heard, but felt within souls like ripples across still waters, a reminder that even when faced by the abyssal chasms of despair and fear, if one looked closely enough into another's eyes or listened intently through their words, love could be found as potent an elixir for healing both heartache and division alike. And it was in these moments that we, united by more than mere circumstance, but the indomitable spirit of empathy and understanding among us, continued to write our chapters together, each word a brushstroke on this living masterpiece, where every sentence, etched with purpose, whispered promises for tomorrow. In silent reverence we acknowledged that as morning's first light pierced through the remnants of darkness, so too would knowledge and wisdom illuminate paths previously unexplored, or beacon urging us forward into an era defined not by what is lost or forgotten, but discovered once more together in unity. Our narrative was etched upon history itself, with every shared tale as ancient bonds were strengthened through the courage to confront our shadows, a testament that even when faced with seemingly insurmountable odds, hope and love could triumph like an unstoppable force, guiding humanity towards brighter tomorrows, where all souls are seen not merely for their differences, but celebrated in every unique aspect of themselves, a world transformed by compassion tapestry woven with the threads of shared experiences. And as we awoke from our dreams beneath this eternal tapestry, ready to face another day together on earth cradled within her vast embrace, it was clear that no matter what trials lay ahead, for in each other's company and hearts alike resided the unwavering strength of community, born not out of fear, but love, of force capable of healing all wounds inflicted by ignorance or hate. With every sunrise, our spirits rose higher until they soared beyond horizons stretched before us, a testament that while the night held mysteries deep and profound, it was in unity's light where we found solace from life's turbulent seas, a reminder whispered by earth herself through rustling leaves, babbling brooks, or simply her silent presence as she watched over us with tender care. And so our story continues as a chronicle of humanity bound together not just within this sacred space, but throughout the world's heart, where every breath taken is a prayer for peace and prosperity, an enduring pledge to carry forward into tomorrow, armed only by love's unwavering armor. In that shared haven beneath twilight skies, we find our strength not in isolation, but within the collect, as we lay nestled among the gentle whispers of a world that seemed to sleep under her vast quilt of darkness. Our breaths mingled with hers in harmonious unity, or soothing balm for wearied souls searching for restoration through shared dreams. And as dawn's first light caressed earth's horizon, painting it with hues of hope and renewal, we stirred softly from the realms where our spirits had danced beneath starlit, skeesered dance that mirrored humanity's own ebbing and flowing through epochs. In this tender hour, before waking became reality once again, I felt a sense of belonging so profound it enveloped my being like the comforting embrace of an old friend whose presence was always assured by our shared journey on earth, or bond forged not from happenstance, but through countless heartbeats in concert. My companion's hand found mine as naturally as their touch had throughout this odyssey. Together we navigated life's complexities with a tranquillity that seemed beyond the realms of imagination or necessity to endure, alone a testament to our unspoken covenant born from mutual respect and undying affection. The sun ascended higher into its azure throne as it began anew, yet we remained ensconced in the warmth woven between us by night's quietude. This was a time when solace could be found not only through shared dreamscapes, but also within each heartbeat echoing against the backdrop of our joint existence. We had faced storms that raged with fury, their tempests tearing at both body and soul, yet here we lay in unbroken repose. For as earth whispered her secrets through every rustle of leaf or babble from brook to pebbled shore, she imparted a message clear beyond words, that together was the only way forward. Amidst this symphony of natural serenity, I felt my own heart rise with an ethereal strength or unity transcending mere companionship and blooming into something resembling family, where every fear had been faced head-on, not in isolation, but as shared endeavors that drew us closer to the essence within ourselves. Our collective spirit, nurtured by Earth's tender guardianship over her children since time immemorial. We, too, were now part of this sacred stewardship, a role defined neither justly nor frivolously upon our arrival, but through each step taken and every mile traversed in the embrace of one another's arms. As morning crept into daylight with a touch as soft yet undeniable, we rose at last from beneath her nurturing blanket to face not only ourselves or Earth's boundless beauty, but also each challenge that lay ahead like stones to be crossed in the path of life's river. Yet, within this shared sanctuary, where twilight had once cradled our dream-fueled repose, we discovered an unspoken pact, a covenant sealed with every sunrise to carry forward not just as individuals, but as one human family bound by mutual love and respect. Our journey ahead promised no simple roads to traverse, nor destinations easily reached, for life is inherently complex in its demands upon the hearts of those who seek truth amidst ignorance, peace within strife's chaos, and understanding beyond fear's shroud, all while earth continues her patient watch over humanity with an affection as deep-rooted as it was eternal. In this shared haven beneath twilight skies, our strength lay not in isolation, but rather through the collective embrace of those we found solace and healing within each other's souls, are testament to community born from love, nurtured by Earth herself as she bore us forth into a world where every breath taken was an offering at life's altar. And so our story continues, for the narrative of humanity is not bound merely in sacred spaces, but within the very heartbeat that echoes across continents and culture as a rhythm shared by all who seek to live with compassion, understanding, and interdependence as their guiding principles. As we stepped out beneath a sky awash with daylight's promise, it was clear our pledge would carry us into tomorrow, not alone but united in spirit, fortified against the tumult of existence by love's steadfast armoring emblem for all who dare to dream and hope amidst earth's myriad tapestries. With each passing moment, as we journeyed from one shared horizon into another, a chronicle unfolded as dawn stretched its rosy fingers across the skyline of our little community nestled in nature's embrace. We gathered once more under a canopy where whispers and dreams found solace among ancient trees that had stood sentinel over countless generations before us. Our meeting spot was now an old stone circlet, remnants of which told tales older than time itself, stones worn smooth by the caress of uncounted raindrops, their presence a silent testament to our enduring quest for unity and understanding in this shared world beneath twilight skies. Inside its heart lay an open flame flickering gentlier symbol that guided us through contemplative silence as we pondered the complexities of life intertwined with love's steadfast armor, our spirits unified in purpose and resolved to face tomorrow together rather than alone. As I looked around at my friends, all holding hands firmly knit into an intricate circular fingers, entwining like roots, beneath a shared ground, he felt the pulse of humanity echoing through each heartbeat, resonating with our collective commitment to nurture compassion and understanding as we stepped forward in this journey. The day had begun quietly. Birdsong heralded its arrival, while dew-kissed leaves shimmered under the gentle touch of sunlight that peeked through wisps of cloud, casting a warm golden glow upon our face, a reminder to cherish and protect Earth's bounty. With each step taken beyond our circle's boundary into nature's realm, we were greeted by curious eyes observing from the shadows. Wildlife seemed equally intrigued by our harmonious gathering as they ventured closer with cautious grace to explore this newfound haven of humanity. As children played in a nearby meadow, their laughter melding seamlessly into nature's own symphony, I felt the interconnectedness within every living being here on Earth. Our destinies shared and entwined as though bound by an invisible thread that linked us all together across continents. It was then we unveiled plans for a communal garden, or testament to humanity's ability not only to survive but flourish when guided by love, understanding, and interdependence amidst Earth's myriad tapestries. Each of us brought seeds from our own gardens, heirloom varieties passed down through generations that held stories within their kernels, or living library representing the rich diversity woven into human culture, as well as a reminder to honor and preserve these precious legacies for future kin. Together we sowed them with reverence under watchful eyes of fluttering butterflies dancing between petals in celebration. Earth herself seemed pleased at our efforts that honored her gifts while fostering sustainable coexistence within this shared space beneath twilight's skeezer sanctuary, where compassion blossomed as readily as the flowers we cultivated. As daylight's promise shone through translucent leaves overhead, I felt an unspoken pact between us all, a covenant forged not in stone but within each soul's heart, that promised to uphold our shared values even when faced with earthly tumult and humanity's often tumultuous existence. Our hands worked diligently side by side, crafting raised beds of earth from the ground itself, for physical manifestation of community strength rooted in collective embrace that shielded us against life's strife through love as our steadfast armor. This was no mere plot for vegetables, but a living testament to humanity's potential when united by shared principles and purpose. With the setting sun casting long shadows across undulating fields beyond, we took stock of what had been accomplished at a day marked not only in time spent together amidst Earth's abundance, but also witnessed as a step toward healing our fractured world through interconnectedness fostered within and without this sacred space. It was here among these ancient stones that stories unfolded, tales woven from experiences shared under twilight's keystales of love, loss, resilience, and hope emerging like flowers after rain to paint a picture far richer than any one soul could bear alone in solitude's expanse. As the moon rose high above us, now cradling its silver gaze upon our commune beneath twilight skies, we concluded with quiet reflection on how this pact or shared commitment forged under open sky and within heartbeats across continents would carry as we gathered under the hushed whispers of twilight and embraced one another in an unspoken pact. A sense of serenity settled within our hearts like dew on morning leaves. The commune had been thriving for seasons past. Now it seemed to reach its zenith with this shared moment before us, or confluence where time stood still and the world beyond merely blurred into distant memories, allowing each soul's heartbeat to synchronize in a tranquil cadence. A gentle breeze carried laughter from children playing among ancient trees that had witnessed centuries unfurl. Their echoes were like soft-spoken promises of continuity and hope for generations yet unborn. Our elders, with hands as wise as the very earth we cultivated, sat beside us in silent reverence to lives lived richly, a testament not only to survival but flourishing amidst adversities known and those unfathomable that awaited beyond horizons of our understanding. The setting sun's amber embrace waned as night embraced the land in a cool, velvety shrouder, signaling fireflies danced to mark time passing with each flicker and twinkle against the dark tapestry above us. Shadows played along ancient stone walls that stood guard over our gatherings like silent sentinels of history itself. We traced their limes, as if through understanding these stones we might unlock further secrets from ages when humanity's bond with nature was not strained but deeply intertwined, or time before concrete jungles clawed at the skies and hearts grew distant to one another across continents vast enough Our voices blended in a hushed symphony, sharing tales of yore that rippled through generations like echoes down cavernous chambers, stories spun from experiences shared beneath twilight's watchful gay sails, steeped rich with love and loss yet buoyant on resilience's tide. These narratives, as diverse in their hues as the very flowers blooming along our communal gardens after rain-soaked nights, were more than simple recitations. They served to weave a fabric of understanding that bound us closer, a shared memory chiseled into existence by collective spirit and purpose. As voices quieted in contemplation, the air seemed imbued with an ethereal essence, as if drawing strength from our unity. We pondered together upon how this bond had formed, a kinship not forged through mere circumstance, but born of shared ideals that rooted us deeper into each other's souls than any soil could touch, or commitment to foster connections, nurture growth, and ensure the seeds sown would yield harvests beyond measure. As we stood in silent acknowledgment of our interdependence with one another as well as Mother Earth herself, a sense of peace permeated through every fiber of being, a reassurance that together each heartbeat echoed louder and deeper than when solitary amongst the stars. We were but threads within this grand tapestry where humanity's potential blossomed with shared principles at its core, a vision not just for survival against earthly tumult or our own often tumultuous existence, but as an oasis of hope in despair's deserted sanctuary cradled within ancient stones. With eyes closed and breathing synchronized with the rhythm that nature's heart itself beat to, we pictured this sacred space not just a harbor for bodies seeking respite from stormy times, but as fertile ground where ideas could germinate into movements of profound change, or community within which every individual was both architect and inhabitant. And thus our day concluded with hearts lighter than when it had begun, knowing that the pact struck here among these stones would carry forth beyond twilight skies to touch souls far across lands where love's essence might yet be rediscovered in communion, as this commune endeavored, living testament not just of humanity's potential for shared strength, but hope, resilience, and interconnectedness amidst the ever-unfolding story that is our world. In these final moments, before sleep claimed us one by one like tender leaves to winter's chill embrace, we held fast to a promise woven from trust as ancient as time itself, for in each other's presence and through shared dreams of what may come ere future, where humankind might stand united with earth at our side once more. And so the cycle began anew under moon's watchful eye, as we emerged from our sacred enclave under a sky painted with hues of twilight and anticipation for what lay ahead. My heart remained light despite knowing that sleep would beckon us to distant lands where dreams had no borders or place beyond the reach of time. Each step outward brought forth memories imprinted on our souls by this unparalleled community. It was as if we carried with us a fragment of their unity, resilience, and hopeful spirit into the night that awaited outside those ancient stones. The journey back to civilization had begun earlier than anticipated, testament not just to shared responsibilities, but also our commitment towards one another's safety in times when trust was still a currency rare as gold, yet infinitely more valuable for its capacity to heal and unite disparate hearts. Our travel took us through quaint villages where the echoes of laughter mingled with whispered prayers offered by weather-beaten faces peering out from behind time-worn window sides that held stories older than any we had known, a silent acknowledgment to our shared humanity and an unspoken welcome. One village in particular stood on the cusp of twilight when we arrived. Its homes seemed like sentinels, keeping watch over generations nestled within their walls, each stone bearing witness to tales that transcended mere history, becoming living testaments themselves as they cradled familial bonds akin to our own. The townsfolk welcomed us with open arms and souls unafraid of the foreign soil beneath them, but shared an underlying familiarity in their gaze, a recognition not just of kindred spirits who had traversed oceans for love, understanding, and togetherness, yet also a quiet hope that we might carry back whispers from these hearths to distant shores. We spent the night beneath canopies strewn with lantern light. Tales spun in embrace of warmth as much felt through words as it was savored within our collective breath, or symphony composed not just by voices, but also synchronized heartbeats that seemed to pulse along ancient roots, bridging generations and worlds. Under the watchful eye of a crescent moon which knew all too well how impermanence shaped destinies as much as it wove them together in patterns unforeseen yet beautifully intricate, celestial muse that serenaded our communion, inviting us to dance upon waves where thoughts and dreams flowed like rivers, through landscapes scarred by time but always destined for renewal. As the first blush of dawn crept across skies awash with a spectrum of possibilitive colors, not just reflecting light from distant stars, but also embers kindled within our hearts who shared visions that transcended mere daybreaks, they were revelations unfurling like petals in an eternal spring. In the quietude between worlds, where time's relentless march seemed to pause and listen intently, as we whispered secrets entrusted only to those who seek refuge within its sanctity or sacred space, not just a harbor, but also fertile soil from which seeds of change can spring forth, with each shared dream or silent resolve, with the promise that our journey was far from over and countless horizons yet left uncharted by even those who had dared to traverse them before us, gathered under an expanse where heavens stretched out in infinite possibilities, like a canvas upon which life painted its most resplendent hues. We looked not just forward, but also backward, understanding that the past was intricately woven into our very essence as humans, capable of transcending boundaries and learning from one another's triumphs against adversity, a testament to collective strength, hopefulness, interconnectedness amidst life's cyclical tapestry. As we bid farewell with heavy yet unburdened hearts that night beneath the moon's tender gaze, which seemed to cradle our souls as if understanding each of us in turning, knew beyond doubt that this experience, though but a single chapter within an endless volume written by humanity across epochs and continents alike, was yet another verse added with fervor imbued not just from the love we shared amongst ourselves here on earth today. And so I lay beneath its watchful eye as slumber called forth to envelop us once more, hurrying forward, a legacy forged in empathy, understanding, and an unwavering commitment that our stories were forever entwined within this beautifully chaotic world we call home, bound by trust not just amongst ourselves, but also with the earth which bore witness, as both in chapter 15 of our journey through time and tales, we find ourselves in a small coastal village where whispers of history's embrace are as palpable as salt on the breeze. Each cobblestone seemed to hold echoes from ages past, when seafarers navigated by stars now long obscured by city lights, their stories etched into every weathered beam and time-worn wall, a testament to their courage against Poseidon's wrathful mood. The village square was alive with the laughter of children chasing after runaway kites painted in vibrant colors that danced upon azure, skeezer joyous spectacle reminiscent of simpler times when life unfolded at nature's behest, untouched by modernity's relentless march. As I sat there with my dear companion beside the sea breeze-lifted fern, our eyes tracing back through memories to days where time seemed like an endlessly flowing river rather than a ticking clock incessantly demanding attention and progress. It was here that we met Alara, a young woman whose voice carried songs of her ancestors who had once tended these very fields, their hands as capable on the loom as they were when wielding plows to coax life from fertile earth. She shared tales by firelight about festivals where dance and song blurred into a single expression of communal joy, a rhythmic pulse that beat in unison with her heart, resonating through my very core as if I was the village's silent guardian spirit awakened from slumber. On our next visitation to this timeless place came an evening when twilight embraced us like a cherished old friend and dusk whispered secrets only heard in hushed tones within one's heart, secrets of love, loss, resilience, that had been passed down through generations. Elora's grandmother recounted stories as if they were living entities with their own breath to give. Her eyes would close for a moment before she continued on the narrative thread woven by memories and lullabies of old, inviting us closer into this intimate tapestry. I learned that within these walls lived elders who had witnessed world wars where their fathers fought, heroical of their eyes, telling stories not written but felt deep in one's soul when they spoke. A strength born from the trials of survival, an enduring spirit forged through sheer hardships and quiet prayers whispered at twilight. The village had been more than just shelter. It was where humanity's resilience shone brightest under adversities, cloud-laden skeezer beacon that not even time could erode from its foundation stones, or the spirit of those who called this place home. During our stay, we embraced simple pleasures, a cup of chai brewed with care by Elora's grandmother under her watchful gaze, laughter echoing in corridors dappled with sunlight through trees that had seen countless seasons come and go, our symphony played on strings made from the village's very essence, its unyielding hope. As night descended upon us like a comfort blanket woven by hands, both tired yet contented after days spent threading stories into existence for others to inherit, Elora led us in dance, our fluid movement that spoke of unity and the interconnectedness we share as human beings on this spinning orb. We danced not just with our bodies, but also through time itself. Each step was a beat from history's drum echoing across Liffit zero expanse, connecting distant epochs to here in an instant her living bridge spanning the gulf between past and present. In that dance beneath stars which had guided sailors back when voyages were bold adventures into vast unknowns rather than routine commutes from one urban jungle to another, we found a rhythm pulsating with life, love, lost universal language spoken by those who have loved too deeply and lost more yet. And as I felt our feet moving in harmony within the village square's embrace, it was clear that though times had changed since tales were first told around fires under constellations now hidden behind city lights, their spirit remained unaltered or flame undimmed by life's tempests and calms alike. Our time in this coastal village reminded us of the strength woven into our collective human tapestry, each thread imbued with tales not just from Elora's lineage, but all stories as dawn's first light kissed our cheeks with pink hues and blurred outlines of a world awakening. Elora stood motionless for just long enough to watch us before turning toward her fellow villagers in appreciation or silent acknowledgement that these simple moments carried the weight of history. The next day found us gathered once more by the village square as though it were our ancestral meeting place since time immemorial, where stories and laughter had been shared beneath a tapestry woven with threads golden like sunbeams themselves. It was here that Elora revealed to her closest friends an intricately bound book she discovered in the attic of her grandmother's house, her family heirloom passed down through generations, its leather cover cracked from years nestled away, untouched and forgotten, like a seed awaiting water, as Elora opened it delicately to reveal yellowed pages filled with handwritten tales of the village's founders who first sowed these lands into existence centuries ago. She gasped softly, a whisper lost in time that soon became as audible and clear as a bell ringing through silence. The story within was not just one, but many lives intertwining like roots beneath soil. It spoke of love forged stronger than steel by the fireside where first breaths were shared, resilience against odds unfathomable to modernity's ears that had forgotten such struggles existed beyond their screens and devices. The village elder approached Elora then with a knowing smile, mirror reflecting back at us years of wisdom accumulated like layers upon an ancient bark-covered tree trunk, his eyes twinkling not just from the morning light, but memories that had traveled through decades to find resonance once more within their hearts. He shared tales, spun with threads, both somber and joyful, or quilt of human existence richer than anyone could claim without acknowledging others' patches in this mosaic. We called life together on the spinning orb that sustained us all through its azure veins pumping seasons like a heartbeat. That night, under stars which had guided sailors back when voyages were bold adventures into vast unknowns rather than routine commutes from one urban jumble to another, we found ourselves drawn closer together as if by an invisible thread spun of silver moonlight and shared humanities, somber rhythm pulsating with life, love, loss. Our time in this coastal village reminded us not just that Elora's lineage was but a single strand within the greater weave. Her stories were echoes reverberating through history itself as if they sprang from an eternal well of collective memory and experience, a living bridge spanning epochs to whisper across lifetimes. The book became our treasure, its narratives unfurling in discussions that stretched into twilight hours. We were all storytellers now as ancient voices found new breath through us, while Elora's family saga danced hand in hand with legends whispering of sea monsters and brave mariners who navigated not just the waters, but life itself. Our laughter mingled with tales told around fires that no longer blazed in our village square as times had changed since their light first flickered across eyes wide with wonderment under constellations now hidden behind city lights. Yet here, surrounded by friends who shared this momentary journey back into the past through Elora's discovery and a book well loved but long lost, As days melted seamlessly into nights like watercolors dissolving on canvas of time's vast expanse of tapestry colored with each villager's hues, memories blending to form patterns that were familiar yet unique as fingerprints upon the earth itself, we found ourselves enveloped by an understanding deep within our souls. Though times had indeed changed since tales first traveled from lips united in storytelling around fires under constellations now hidden behind city lights, their spirit remained undimmed a flame that could never be extinguished. As chapter 16 drew to a close, we all sat in silence for just a moment, long of quiet as profound and enveloping as velvet drapes falling gently across our shoulders at day's end. It was then that Alara reached within the depths of her satchel once more, this time retrieving an ancient, leather-bound book with pages yellowed by age, its cover cracked like dry earth after a long absence from touching sunlight. As she gently opened it to reveal another tale or story woven through generations and whispered about in hushed tones around village hearths of yore, found ourselves once again voyaging across the sea, not with sails or compass, but within bound parchment pages carrying us backward and forward upon waves of law. The book's narrative unfurled like a ship charting course through stormy seas. It spoke to us first in Alara's grandfather's voice, his words etched with echoes from the pasture time when sea monsters roamed freely and mariners set forth on quests as much for survival as discovery. We learned of an intrepid family whose lineage was a thread through this tapestry, their saga intertwined closely with legends, embroidered into history's garment at the hands of weavers long vanished but not forgotten in our hearts and minds. Each page turned revealed further depth to Alara's family story, how generations had faced trials akin to battling mythical beasts themselves with resilience, their fates mirroring that of ancient heroes who looked beyond the horizon for new worlds or worse yet, merely survival. As they navigated through life's tempests and calms alike, Alara's ancestors became a guiding star in our present journey. We drew parallels to their courage amidst modern-day storm clouds threatening with change that could wash away all which had been familiar for centuries upon the shores of time. The flickering candlelight cast dancing spectres on Alara's face as she recounted tales from her grandmother, the same stories told beneath a moonlit sky when flames would have reached their peak and fingers stained with soot, painting images in the minds of all who listened. Her voice trembled slightly, not out of fear, but reverence for memories that transcended generations, like ripples expanding across an infinite pond from singular droplets cast by ancestral hands into waters long passed through our fingers now and then as we remembered them today. We delved deeper, exploring Alara's great-grandfather's era when the ocean was a frontier living entity that breathed with life both wondrous and terrifying, where mariners faced their deepest fears on waves churning like tempests within. We heard of him finding solace in songs, melodies carried by wind over water blending into tales as much about the journey undertaken at sea's part her quest for treasures beyond gold or jewels, but rather souls to discover in stories yet untold that needed telling back on land. The narratives stretched out before us like a vast, open ocean. Alara's family history was now our own as we journeyed through the chronicle of time, or shared voyage across epochs where each chapter bore significance not only in its plot, but also for connecting souls with bonds that transcended blood and age. We laughed together at anecdotes intertwined within these tales, much like sailors might jest amidst roaring waves or whispered secrets traded under a cloak of night's embrace. Our laughter mingled in the air as thickly as brine upon water's surface. As days slipped by unnoticed and time seemed to fold into itself, like origami, constant reshaping beyond human comprehension, found ourselves enveloped within an understanding profound, connecting each of us not merely through shared history, but the very essence that makes a community thrive. It was as if we were all characters in Alara's tale. Her bloodline's legacy became our own story to continue writing with every memory and laughter-filled moment now captured within these leather pages, bound for posterity by hands long resting beneath an ancestor's gaze from the past. The warmth of camaraderie enveloped us as we all contributed pieces that painted our current village life a vibrant hue on a tapestry already rich with heritage and tales passed down through whispered words in twilight, as twilight kissed our village with its dusky hues and painted it in shades of gold that seemed to mirror Alara's own hair. We found ourselves drawn into her enchanted study once more, The old wooden table bore witness again as the candles flickered like sentient guardians against encroaching nightfall, while each character settled comfortably upon its surface or circle not merely of friendship, but one united by shared ancestry and stories that spanned generations, woven together in a tapestry rich with tradition. It was on this evening when Alara revealed the final piece to complete our chronicle, an ancient manuscript thought lost for centuries within her family's lineage, a tale of prophecy concerning their very village and its denizens. This story, whispered in hushed reverence only among a select few who knew whereof they spoke, hinted at the arrival of another soul whose blood carried echoes of our own legacy. The manuscript suggested that this individual would bear characteristics strikingly similar to Alara's visage, a resemblance so profound as if fate itself had drawn from her portrait when choosing a new scion for their ancient and mystical community. As we delved into the text, it became clear that our collective journey through time was not yet complete. There were still threads to be pulled free of history's tapestry, threads destined to lead us once more unto Alora's revelation in this very room where her ancestor had inscribed his legacy upon these pages. The story foretold that the stranger, as they would come to know him or her, was no ordinary arrival, but a kindred spirit imbued with purpose and connection and extension of our own lineage, yet unbeknownst even unto themselves at this time. The next daybreak found us embarking on an expedition into forgotten parts of the village, where legends whispered from beneath overgrown foliage, seeking to verify if these tales bore any semblance to truth or merely wanderlust-fueled fantasies birthed by idle gossip. Our search led us through a labyrinthine garden that seemed alive with verdant spirals of ivy and blooms whose scents carried the fragrance of yesteryears, each petal seeming to hum ancient melodies in chorus beneath our steps as we wandered deeper into its heart. In an alcove hidden by nature's own handiwork lay a stone bench upon which rested memories and mementos long buried, a time capsule of sorts left behind not just for Alora, but her grandmother, mother before that, ad infinitum back through the ages, each offering whispered secrets about their lives, letters scrolled in fading script, photographs worn by age yet with faces remarkably resembling our own current company's visages, and an unassuming locket containing a miniature portrait whose eyes mirrored Alora's more intimately than any living soul could. The village elders spoke of the stranger as if reciting law passed down for eons, with each story growing richer in detail or being descended from those who had walked these paths before us, yet possessed a freshness to their blood that promised renewal and continuance rather than mere survival. They were said to possess an uncanny knowledge of the village's hidden history, tales not recorded but lived, as if each chapter was penned by them personally in strokes invisible upon these very pages we now read together within Alora's sanctum. Our shared narrative drew us ever closer, a familial bond, unspoken yet palpable amongst the embers of our gathered tales, and communal warmth that seemed to flow not just from firelight but an intangible connection, threaded through generations, binding one soul's ending with another's beginning. In this moment, where time folded upon itself like origami in a masterful artist's hands, or dance of creases, forming new paths and past ones re-emerging to guide our steps forward, we discovered not just the legacy that awaited us, but an invitation extended through Alara's bloodline. Accept it, embrace its mystery, for we were all threads in this ever-expanding tapestry. As night enveloped village and hearth alike with velvet darkness pierced only by stars aglow above like silent sentinels, keeping vigil over our shared destiny, Alora's ancestors' tale continued to unfold before us, heritage entwined inexorably within the hearts of those gathered around. We knew now that we were not merely readers, but contributors, each memory and recollection a stitch binding this patch as our gathering in Alora's sanctum wound to a close, and night's embrace settled over us like an ancient cloak. We found ourselves whispered into dreams of history that had never quite been forgotten, but merely existed between the lines of lineage etched not just upon parchment or stone, but within our very essence. The tales seemed to seep from Alora's skin as though her ancestors were painting their lives with a broad and knowing strokes directly onto us. We felt less spectators of history than its custodians. The past was no longer a silent teacher in dusty tomes or decaying monuments, but an active participant within our soul's symphony, where each note resonated through generations to be played by those who now held it close. Chapter 19. the legacy unveiled as the first stars, twinkled into existence above Alora's village, casting their silver glow upon us all like a cosmic benediction for our newfound role as guardians of memory and legacy, or sacred trust passed down through whispers in the wind to be claimed by hands that would hold it tenderly. In this shared communion beneath an indigo sky speckled with celestial fire, we found ourselves not just a congregation of kin but custodians of continuity. Our hearts had become vessels for stories untold and wisdom whispered only to the winds or heard in dream-born reverie. Alara's hands trembled ever so slightly as she lifted an ancient locket from her grandmother's trinket box, a reliquary of yesteryears that seemed imbued with its own eldritch hum, or frequency felt, rather than heard, resonating within the chambers of our collected spirit. This heirloom held not just photographs and faded letters, but an echo's heartbeat from her grandmother's youth, when she stood at this very hearth on occasions such as these, spinning tales that would warm souls more profoundly than any flame could ever touch. The locket was a silent guardian of secrets and sentinel to the passageways between times, or bridge across which we now tread with eyes wide in wonderment at its mysteries unveiled before us, like peering into an abyss only to find it reflected our own faces back upon us. Beneath Elora's touch of that cool metal rested the past's embrace, her gentle handshake across time, wherein we reached out and found ourselves embracing as well, a connection deeper than shared blood or laughter, forged in trust between souls who had journeyed through their own narratives before finding themselves at this confluence of histories. The locket's melodic resonance seemed to draw forth the very essences we carried within, to joys and sorrows that shaped us as much as any event or person could claim ownership over them, binding our individual tales into a more profound unity like threads in an intricate tapestry. The village square before Elora's home was now aglow with lantern light. The flickering flames seemed to dance upon cobblest zero-Z paths and weather-worn walls as if they too were eager participants within our shared tale, casting their glow across stones that bore silent witness to centuries of footfalls, or mosaic of moments where each individual journey was a stitch in the communal fabric. Elora's mother had often told stories beneath this very canopy, how her grandmother would sit and narrate tales born from an uncanny knowledge, as if she were reciting lines not written but live or living chronicle that seemed to flow through them like lifeblood. As the night deepened its hold around us all with a tenderness reserved for those who had found true solace in one another's presence, our voices low and reverent, we began reciting Elora's ancestral tales, her hushed chant that seemed to summon spectres of memory from their resting places within the annals of time. As if by some arcane magic or divine providence, these spirits took shape around us in ethereal form. They were neither here nor there, but existed as a shimmer between breaths, or fleeting caress upon cheek and forehead that brought with it both heartache for the past's sorrows endured and reverence for its lessons learned. Through Elora's lineage, tales of love blossomed like flowers in spring. Stories where her great-great-grandmother had woven bonds not just within family but with spirits. The air was still as Elora watched her parents' lips move in gentle rhythm with their shared words, a recitation of tales that seemed to stretch back into time, beyond the grasping hands of memory itself. The canopy above them swayed lightly now and then, but mostly remained a steady embrace against the night sky, as if recognizing its own role within these sacred narrations passed down through generations, her living testament that history was not just about dates and names. It lived in whispers carried on wings of spoken word. Her father spoke next with an affectionate lilt to his voice that seemed perfect for the stories he told. And then there's great-great-grandpa Alistair, he began, as if drawing forth a hidden treasure from deep within himself, who ventured beyond our small village in search of wisdom. It was said by some fairies guided him. Elora's mother nodded softly and added her own touch to the tale, ensuring that every detail felt real enough for them all to believe it could have been this very night beneath these same stars, as they now recited together in reverence. The stories wove through triumphs of love found amid trials. Elora's great-great-grandmother Niamh, who had braved the sea's stormy waves with only her heart to steer by. Tales where she met a fisherman whose eyes mirrored the depth and mystery of those untamed waters. It was said that his soul belonged not just in this world, but also beyond it, in realms touched by magic as ancient as time itself, yet understood fully within their embrace under the night sky. As Elora's parents continued to weave tales from her, lineage into the fabric of shared memory and whispered lore around them, she found herself lost in a sea of narratives that flowed like water, each one feeding off another's words with nourishing ease until all felt as natural as breath. She listened intently, not just to hear, but also absorbed every syllable into her being. These stories were the tapestry upon which she now stood, a daughter ready and willing to claim her own place in this legacy of voices that had always seemed so distant from Alora's youthful dreams, yet somehow felt like home. The night wore on as they recited tales until their words began to blur together into one continuous murmuring stream, a river born anew with every recollection shared between them and the spirits who listened intently, lending weight to each word that fell from Alora's parents, lips like droplets of dew upon thirsty leaves. The canopy above shimmered faintly now as if responding in kind. Stars twinkled a little brighter with every story, told her celeste zero-isle ovation for the ancestral voices that seemed to fill not just their gathering, but also seep into Alora's very soul. There was an unspoken agreement among them all as they came upon one final tale near dawn's first light peekering through night-shrouded trees, legend of the night whisperer who could hear not just words but emotions. She had once wandered into their village seeking a place where her heart might find its echo. It was said that only under this very canopy did Alora's great-great-grandmother Mere met with someone whose spirit resonated so perfectly within her, served love born of understanding and shared silence, transcending the spoken word to become something far more profound than any language could convey. As they approached the end of their recitation, a sense of completion wrapped around Alora, as if she were standing on a precipice between who was now her past self and who might yet come into being an ancestral journey that had brought them to this moment beneath the ancient canopy where time seemed both eternal and passing. And when they finally concluded their shared recitation, not just did those ethereal spirits seem content with having been heard once more, there was a tangible warmth in Alora's chest, knowing that she had become part of something far greater than herself as the first golden rays began to filter through leads and into her room. Their voices grew softer, their breathing calmer, until eventually each one lay back down on the mossy earth beside a sleeping Alora, who felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for this connection to family before birthright. It was not just blood that bound them, but stories and spirits. As they drifted off to their own separate nights, ensconced in dreams woven from the same threads as these tales told beneath a watchful canopy where once the forest was alive with an energy not found elsewhere. It pulsed around her like a heartbeat that resonated within every fiber of existence that had been here before she remembered, and would be long after, as eternal guardians to those who sought its solace in times both joyful and sorrow-laden. As Alora lay nestled between the roots of an aging yew tree, whose branches swayed gently with each passing windward dance that seemed too delicate for such a robust being, she closed her eyes, allowing herself to be fully present within this sacred place where reality intertwined seamlessly with dreams. The ancient canopy above offered shelter not just from the elements, but also against unseen forces. Its protective embrace was one she had always taken for granted until tonight, when it felt as if time itself paused and held her tenderly, in a warm, soothing grasp that seemed to extend far beyond mere physical touch. A lullaby of whispers enveloped the trier Alora's parents, now long returned from their journey through realms unseen since they were but children themselves, when first she learned this tale within her grandmother's hushed voice under a moonlit sky. Those same tales passed to Alora had been told with such reverence that it made the night air feel sacred. The stories of ancestral spirits, their trials and triumphs over eons, flowed through them as they lay together on the mossy earth, an unbroken thread weaving back into itself like a double helix encircling an immortal heartbeat. The night was cool, even here beneath this sentinel canopy of enduring oaks and whispering leaves. Alora felt its crispness in the fabric of her skin as she allowed herself to be enveloped by memories that wrapped around her like a cloak woven from strands of silver moonlight. And within those reflections, laughter shared with kin who had since become one with roots beneath this very same earth, and tears shed for friends whose souls echoed in the hollows carved out over time by love's relentless passage through generations. There was a comfort that seemed to settle upon her heart like dew on morning petals. The spirits themselves were not as transient within this realm. They appeared here with greater ease and understanding, their essence felt rather than seen in the shimmer of light or movement atop foliage or testament, perhaps, that Alaro was now among kin whose bonds surpassed even familial ties. These guardians had come to share not just tales, but also a piece of eternity itself with her, allowing for moments where time did more than tick away in the background. It became an intimate partner within which stories were told and retold until they resonated through Alora's very marrow or symphony that now played as if she alone had been composed to hear its melodies. As dawn approached, a golden hue began filtering through gaps in the canopy above. It was not merely light, but also enlightenment, casting away any lingering shadows of doubt or fear from Alora's heart, a promise that as she lay here beneath this ancient sentinel watching over her for so many moons, there had been purpose to every word spoken and breath taken. The connection between them was no longer just ancestral. It transcended into something far greater than bloodlines could claim alone, an intimate tie with spirits of the air that breathed life through history itself, her legacy not inherited but earned by devotion, patience, and listening to stories whispered under this very canopy. Thus did Alora continue laying here upon earth's soft embrace while her parents slipped away like leaves returning after a storm. Each step into the morning air was taken with an understanding that their connection within these woods went beyond mere moments spent towed through its spanned Liffit 0ds and errors, echoed in every leaf rustling underfoot. As she rose to meet them once more for another night's communion beneath this watchful canopy, where they had as Alora settled back into her eternal resting place beneath the sentinel canopy of ancient trees, she took another deep breath, a ritual that had become as much a part of her existence here in the Whisperwoods as the very air flowing through them. With each inhalation and exhale, Alora felt an even deeper connection to this forest realm where time meandered like its rivers. It was there she learned patience wasn't just virtue, but a necessity for survival, or lesson taught by these guardians of the woodland world who had watched over her since infancy. This night, unlike any other before as dawn approached with gentle persistence upon their slumbering haven, felt different to Alora. It was imbued with an urgency not present in years past, or call that seemed both personal and universal from the whispering leaves above. She closed her eyes for a moment longer, allowing herself to sink deeper into this sacred communion before opening them again as if drawn by some unseen force. The rustle of foliage became more pronounced around Alora. It was not just sound, but voice or chorus so delicate that their melodies threaded through the air, mingling with her own heartbeat and resonating within a chamber built from dreams and whispered tales. She listened intently as if trying to catch each word before they were lost in translation between realms. This was not mere conversation, but an exchange of souls, or dialogue that transcended language, reaching into the essence shared by all who dwelled within Whisperwood's embrace. As Alora continued her nightly ritual on these sacred grounds, she felt a presence beside her. It was as if another soul had joined their silent communion beneath this ancient canopy, or connection that spoke not of blood, but spirit and shared history woven into the very fabric of Whisperwoods. Together they lay in companionable silence, each lost within thoughts too profound for words, yet understood by senses beyond mere sight or touch. Alora's mind swirled with images conjured from memories not her own, as if she had lived 1,000 lives and experienced the joys and sorrows of countless souls. It was then that an understanding settled upon their shared consciousness, a revelation born on this night like new leaves unfurling to greet the first touches of sunlight after long, darkened days. They were not just witnesses, but participants in a legacy far greater than themselves. This communion beneath Whisperwoods had become an act of reverence for generations past and those yet to come, a promise made with every breath taken under this sacred canopy that their spirits would continue weaving through the tapestry of time, binding them all together in a legacy beyond measure. As Alora rose from her resting place beneath these ancient sentinels at dawn's first light and met her parents once more for another night's communion upon this hallowed ground where they had shared so many lifetimes before, she carried with her the understanding that their connection within Whisperwoods transcended mere moments spent together. It spanned lives, generations, years. Each step taken into the morning air was infused with an affirmation of this enduring tie and a recognition that as they journeyed forward in life's unpredictable dance, they were not alone on their path, but forever guided by Whisperwoods itself, its spirits whispering through each rustle, every sigh carried away into the growing light. And so Alora would continue to rise with her kin for nightly communion beneath This canopy of ancient guardians, their stories and legacies intertwined like roots buried deep within Whisperwood's sacred earth. A tale told through generations, echoing in every whispered word that rustled underfoot. With each passing sunset they would return to these eternal woods where time held no dominion over their spirits, and odes sung by the wind itself as it danced between branches and leaves of timeless trees, whose boughs cradled souls both restless and at peace. A tale that only those who dared venture into Whisperwood's heart could ever hope to understand. Thus, beneath this canopy where her parents had come before and would undoubtedly return for all eternity as the enduring guardians of Alora's legacy, she too became a part of something far greater than herself, an indelible link in Whisperwood's ever-unfolding story. It was here, beneath this watchful embrace where her parents had slipped away like leaves returning after storm, that the Alora settled into a comfortable spot on an ancient stone bench at Whisperwood's edge. Last golden sunlight danced upon her features, casting long shadows as if to play hide and seek with reality itself. She closed her eyes for just a moment longer before opening them again. This was the time when stories of old seemed less like whispers on windy nights and more like tangible truths etched into every leaf and bark that caressed her skin, felt deep within Whisperwood's soul as if she had been born from its heart. It took but a gentle touch upon the trunk of an age-old oak to beckon forth memories of Alora's grandmother teaching her how to read under this very canopy, where words seemed less like letters and more like seeds that blossomed into visions within their minds. The stories told were ones not found in any tome or scroll. They lived through the eyes of Whisperwood itself as it remembered each person who had ever sought solace beneath its branches, each one a story, an echo across time's vast expanse etched deep into the land's memory like hieroglyphics on stone walls. Alora traced her fingers along these ghostly imprints with reverence. She knew each touch was felt by Whisperwood as deeply and personally as if it were a caress of its own flesh, for in truth they had become one eternal dance of spirits intertwined. These memories served to fortify her resolve that night, when the air held whispers from generations past. She would honor their tales by continuing down this path under Whisperwood's watchful presence and through its guardians, Alora's ancestors, who now slept beneath roots like a family bed. As twilight approached with deliberate grace, it seemed as though even the stars paused to admire in silent reverence before they too joined this nocturnal ballet of lighter cascade that mirrored Whisperwood's very essence, timeless and ageless like its sentinel trees. Alora understood now more than ever what she had been safeguarding, not just a legacy encased within these woods, but the continuity of life itself. Each generation was both scribe and storyteller to their progeny, yet unborn or sacred trust passed down as ancient whispers that never truly die. The night air carried on its breaths like velvet against her skin, lulling Alora into a sense of serenity well beyond the physical realm's embrace. She felt it within her marrow, where blood and essence were indistinguishable from one another, bound to Whisperwood's spirit as firmly as roots clung onto soil. And in this moment, Alora became a part of something larger than herself, the living heartbeat of an enduring saga that transcended her own existence and embraced all life within its fold like leaves cradled by branches after autumn's bounty had been shared with earth's many creatures. Within this sacred space, time held no dominion. It was as if she stood upon the threshold of eternity itself, where past and future melded into one infinite present, her heartbeats echoing through generations like a drum in silent communion with ancestors whose whispers still rustled within Whisperwood's embrace. And so it came to pass that Alora, under the watchful gaze of countless eyes which had seen centuries unfold upon their bausides, as wise and knowing as time itself, would learn not only her own story, but also how she was woven into a tapestry far greater than herself. For beneath this ancient canopy, where history's roots delve deepest, Alora's spirit had found its true home. In the heart of Whisperwood's did life itself become art, or living fresco painted by every leaf that fell and every bird that nested within these guardians. Here was a realm untouched by time, where souls could wander free from mortal constraints, their essence forever cradled between earthly boughs, as tender as the first embrace of dawn's light upon dew-laden grasses, an eternal sanctuary for those whose hearts beat in tune with nature's rhythm. Alora would sleep beneath these sentinels, her heart a drumbeat that echoed through generations. She and the trees were kindred spirits, speaking languages not of words, but share experiences, whispering between rustling leavister, language understood by those who listened closely enough to hear beyond silences. Alora's eyes met with starlight chapter continuation. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow that kissed Alora's cheeks as she nestled into her bed of moss and flowers within Wispwoods. Her heart still echoed its rhythm against the ancient bark around her, a soft drumbeat lost in time, but heard by all who lived beneath these sentinels, including herself, now resting under their watchful gaze. She closed her eyes to dream of days when she first discovered this hidden place as a child, playing amongst the trees and whispered secrets with them at nightfall. How they had always felt like family even before King could articulate words into understanding, or bond woven in every rustling leaf, each caressing breeze. Tonight's dream took her back to a summer evening when she stumbled upon an old diary buried beneath the roots of what was now one of Wispwood's eldest guardians. Its pages were yellowed with age, and its spine crackled softly as Alora opened it, revealing tales penned by generations before her, a chronicle that seemed to have been waiting for centuries in silence until she found it nestled within these leaves of memory. She read about a grand celebration where once every decade the community gathered here among Whisperwoods, limbs to share stories, laughter, and psalms that reverberated through time like heartbeats syncopating with nature's own pulse, or legacy forgotten until she had unearthed this treasure. That night Alora dreamt of a festival where the trees themselves came alive in celebration alongside her people. Vines danced as if they were strings on harps, and flowers bloomed outward like brilliant bursts of color from every branch, reaching towards heaven's embracer, spectacle that transcended mere human festivity. As she awoke with the first morning light filtering through Whisperwood's canopy, Alora felt an overwhelming sense of belonging and purpose intertwined within her soul as tightly as roots entwine earth beneath these sacred grounds, a feeling that had become increasingly more profound each time she returned here. The day passed slowly for Alora. The gentle rhythm of nature became a lullaby to which only those who truly belonged could dance, and Whisperwoods hummed with an energy untouched by modernity's relentless march, or serene haven where time stood still in its own unique tempo. The air was alive with symphonies composed from the myriad voices of wildlife. Birdsong mingled seamlessly with rustling leaves, and each note seemed to be an ode dedicated Soul 0158ing life here, a chorus that spoke louder than words ever could. As twilight approached once more, Alora sought out the oldest guardian of Whisperwoods, where she had often found solace in her youth. This tree's bark was etched with stories from a time when humans were not yet aware that they belonged to something greater than themselves, a living archive holding secrets whispered by ancestors whose spirits still murmured within its hollows. It seemed fitting, then, for Alora to sit beneath the gnarled roots of this grand elder and share her own tale in return. She spoke softly into the embrace that had cradled generations before, a story steeped not only in personal memories, but also a reflection on how these ancient woods shaped every facet of one's being. As night descended upon Wispwoods, an indigo cloak enveloping all life within its realm, Alora felt the presence of her ancestors drawing near, faint wisps of memories and dreams that transcended mere thought to become tangible threads invisibly woven into reality itself. They were here now as she lay nestled beneath Whisperwood's embrace, a bridge between past whispers and future echoes. Their guidance was subtle but constant, her guiding hand felt through the touch of cool breeze against skin, or heard within rustling foliage that seemed to hum with ancient knowledge. Alora sensed her spirit melding ever more tightly into Whisperwood's, like ink blending seamlessly on parchment, boundary between self and woodland becoming indistinguishable. She was not just beneath the trees, but became one of them as surely as sap flows through their veins. The connection that had always been present whispered louder now within her soul, resonating with a frequency shared by all living things. The embrace that held Alora seemed almost sentient now, understanding her thoughts before they took shape in whispered breaths, the elder trees' knotted limbs swaying gently as if nodding knowingly at their shared history and bondage of souls through ages past, when it stood proudly towering over a bustling village that once lived among these very groves. The roots delved deep, touching upon relics buried in the earth, or time capsule containing whispers from her ancestors long gone but never forgotten. They were here now as she lay nestled beneath Whisperwood's embrace, a bridge between past whispers and future echoes that resonated with wisdom beyond years. as night enveloped them in its indigo cloak more profoundly than ever before, an azure blanket stretching infinitely over the world of mankind, but always leaving patches untouched where Whisperwoods stood sovereign. Elora felt a warmth that seemed to emanate from within her own heart, as if she was being transformed by an alchemy only ancient forests could provide. The boundary between self and woodland became indistinct zero as the first light of dawn began its slow creep over Whisperwood's horizon. Elora awoke feeling more intertwined with her Saran as Elora's breath slowed to a whisper with each passing moment within Whisperwood's embrace. She felt as though time itself had ceased its incessant march forward and stood still for just one more instant under this ancient guardian of nature. The elder tree seemed all the wiser now. It knew that every leaf's tremble was a symphony to her solar dance only those who have truly listened could perceive, like notes played on instruments made from wood with stories etched into their grain just as hers were inked upon Elora's heart. The first light of dawn began its slow creep over Whisperwood's horizon when the world outside started to awaken a gentle illumination that painted everything it touched with a golden hue. Yet this magic felt especially close within these groves where shadows danced and whispered secrets. Elora had often listened for answers in sunlight filtering through leaves, but never imagined she would find them here between the roots of an elder tree as ancient beyond measure, fair entwined spirits, a testament to love's persistence, even when faced with life's trials and tribulations that sought relentlessly to unravel it. The warmth within her seemed like something more than mere comfort. Perhaps the touch of countless seasons had left an imprint on this living heart, a place where each pulse echoed through time, connecting Elora not just with Whisperwood but also with every soul that found solace in its shade. It was as if she could hear their whispers too, stories murmured by her ancestors who once stood among these very trees before they were lost to the march of empires, and forgotten names resurfaced within Elora's memories, guiding her through a labyrinthine past towards an unforeseeable future. In this moment, where night surrendered its dominion back into daylight's realm with reluctance, as thick clouds parting just enough to let in the first rays of sunshine that kissed Whisperwood's bark, Elora felt an awakening within her transformation not unlike how a caterpillar becomes butterfly. It was here among these sacred groves where her spirit sought rebirth, surrounded by trees older than time and wisdom deeper than the roots of this elder tree itself, that she found herself on the precipice of change, poised to leap into unknown tomorrows while forever bound to a history rich with echoes from ages past. As Elora's chest rose and fell in steady cadence like an ancient drumbeat resonating through her veins, each breath seemed more purposeful than the last. She was no longer just a visitor, but had become part of this enduring legacy, living testament to love that transcends life itself. And as Whisperwood stretched forth its branches towards new horizons, and shadows retreated from her heart, like water evaporating into steam, Elora knew without question she was ready for the next chapter in a tale far greater than her sulphur story, where every ending is but an invitation to begin again. For within Whisperwood's leaves lay not just resting places or mere shelter from life's stormy weather. They were guardians of her own essence, curators for the tales woven into Elora's being, a mosaic made up of experiences that ranged as wide and varied in scope as Whisperwood's canopy itself. The groves had always been a sanctuary where life seemed to pause just enough so one could hear their own heartbeat amidst the rustle, allowing her spirit room within which it might grow a place of healing for wounds unseen and scars that time alone would never fully mend. The first light was now a bold splash upon Whisperwood's world. Its intensity seemed to amplify Elora's connection with the tree, each sunbeam threading through leaves like needles, sewing together her present self into an intricate part of this living tapestry that extended far beyond what eyes could see. The groves held whispers from centuries past, voices both joyous and sorrowful entangled in its very essence. As Elora's heartbeat aligned with the ancient pulse, she felt each whisper imbue her being with strength to face whatever tomorrow might bring back into this world of mankind. The boundary between self and woodland seemed indistinct or fusion, where one could no longer tell if it was Elora who reached for a leaf or the elder tree that beckoned in return, as though every touch were an exchange of energy more potent than any spoken word. Elora's hand traced a delicate pattern along her heart on Whisperwood's ancient bark, feeling for its rhythm that seemed to ebb and flow with her symbiotic dance of life, where human met nature in silent conversation. The night had waned into the blushes of dawn when she felt an unfamiliar stir within her chest, a yearning not just for daylight, but also for kinship, as if Wisperwood itself whispered tales from eons ago and now beckoned to guide its sole confidant back amongst humanity. The groves had been Alora's sanctuary since childhood's Summer Place, where her playful days transformed into tender nightly rendezvous with the sentinel trees that stood guard over whispered secrets and silent promises of protection. Yet, as she now faced this decision, to leave or stay forever entwined within Wisperwood's embrace, there was an unspoken understanding passing between the man, mutual recognition of a bond beyond mere companionship. As the sun climbed higher in its arc and painted warmth into every nook of her being, Elora felt not just hope but resolve strengthening within her heart, like sap flowing through Wisperwood's veins on this first day as guardian to both groves and humans alike. The decision lay before her, the choice between the eternal solitude beneath bowed canopies or reclaiming a role amidst human folds, where she could share life's experiences with others beyond these mystical woods. The elder tree of Wisperwood extended its presence to touch Elora's soul directly, as if offering counsel through their connection or silent mentor, whose whispers were carried on the wind that danced between leaf and limb, weaving tales not just for her ears, but also in hopes she might convey them back. Yet, even without words spoken or scribed onto parchment to carry forth these stories beyond Wisperwood's realm, Elora felt an unshakable determination or commitment to bridge the world of mankind with this haven where time seemed malleable under nature's watchful gaze. With each step toward humanity, that day and into her community, amongst men had been a quiet trepidation, fearing not just for herself, but also wondered if others could truly understand or comprehend the depth of connection she felt with Wisperwood, as well as what it meant to belong wholly in one world yet deeply rooted within another. The village elders and kin had always regarded Elora's time spent amongst trees not just eccentric, but also unnatural, a sentiment that often left her feeling isolated even when she felt most embraced by Wisperwood's leafy arms. Yet the elder tree seemed to assure her with a silent strength, urging upon this day of reckoning where Elora would find herself standing before them not as an outcast, but perhaps one who held wisdom that transcended human bounds, or guardian for both worlds she loved so dearly and felt such profound kinship within. As the final rays kissed her cheek goodbye, bidding farewell to a day spent in contemplation of paths yet untraveled by Elora's heart, an understanding crystallized amidst her thoughts, a realization that even as she sought acceptance within mankind's embrace, Wisperwood would forever be the silent witness and companion. She could not sever this connection without risking losing a part of herself to darkness, or worse yet, allowing those who feared what they did not understand about her kinship with nature's wisdom forfeit their own perception in fear's grasp or loss far greater than any personal rejection she might face. Thus resolved within Elora was an unyielding spirit to stand as bridge, a keeper of the flame that could illuminate understanding between two worlds so often at odds with each other and yet capable, when given voice through one willing heart, her human guardian, whose allegiance lay equally among verdant kin. As she approached her village once more under sunset's crimson hues, Elora carried not just the weight of impending change, but also a hopeful anticipation for what tomorrow might unfurl as an intersection between Wisperwood and humankind, or guardian's dawn, where acceptance was both sought after and given freely. In time to come would be tales told in hushed tones about the girl who once dwelled within a whispered wood, but now stood steadfast at its edge, her footsteps echoing with promise as she returned home, an envoy between realms, where as Elora reached her village under a sky painted with strokes of orange and pink at twilight's end, she could not shake off the stillness that had taken hold in her heart, her quiet reverence for both Wisperwood's ancient majesty and its newfound kinship. The villagers themselves seemed caught between wonderment and wariness as they regarded Elora with eyes reflecting a mosaic of emotions, but none dared to approach the girl who stood at that particular moment bridging two worlds apart yet so intimately intertwined through her guardianship over Wisperwood. The moon had risen fully by now and cast its silver glow upon Elora's path as she meandered slowly down towards home, each step resonating with the silent hope of dawn's promise that lay ahead, her chance to weave understanding between her people and their hidden neighbor in Wisperwood. Her mother had always said stories were like water, They could both heal wounds and quench thirst for truth, as she sipped from a cup cradled tenderly against the palm of Elora's hand, its warmth soothing her spirit after days spent among kin that whispered wisdom through rustling leaves. Elora had not slept in these woods since first hearing their language. It was no secret amongst those who knew her skill as rare and mysterious to humans as the enigmatic beauty of Wisperwood itself, its tendrils rooting deep into secrets that only time dared touch. The village elders spoke often about a guardian spirit from ages past, but never could have imagined such one would take form in Elara, girl whose heart beat with the earth's own rhythm and who walked barefoot upon its sacred soil, unshielded by fear or prejudice that had so long cast shadows between humankind and their arboreal brethren. Now at her threshold home awaited a brother eager to hear tales of Wisperwood, a boy whose soul bore an affinity for the natural world as much as Elora's did, his curiosity untamed like the bristling brook that sang its path through their father's farm. As she knocked upon her door and entered with treasures from a day steeped in enchantment yet burdened by necessity, Brother Julian listened intently to every detail of Elora's travelling days spent within Wisperwood's embrace, while the hearth fire crackled its warm welcome. And there I stood. She began gently as her fingers traced patterns into his palm like dancers upon water, amidst a glade where light and shadow played in eternal ballad, an audience of ancient trees whose roots had seen empires rise and fall beyond the ken of our fleeting lives. A council convened beneath their boughs. I offered my voice as an entreaty to harmony between Wisperwood's kindred spirits and those who dwelled within these walls. The elders spoke with a wisdom that transcended years, yet not once did they speak directly of us. Instead, we learned the language of trust not through words, but by actions gentle as dew upon morning petals. I taught them to whisper gratitude for every drop in their well and respect each leaf's roll within our shared canopy. But Brother Julian, she continued with a tender smile that reached beyond her youth, it was not always the villagers who found themselves at Wisperwood's mercy. A darkness lingered, an undercurrent of fear born from misunderstanding and ignorance about creatures whose essence mirrored our own yet danced to an altogether different symphony. That very night, as I stood with the elders by firelight's flicker, a decision took root within my soul. We could not let this shadow of division consume us. A lad guardian must stand watch over their charge, and in that moment resolved to be for Wisperwood what its ancient oaks had been before me. Her voice quivered like leaves caught in an unseen breeze as she shared tales spun from moonbeams of wisdom gathered beneath the forest's protective gaze. I offered my hand, not just to plant seeds within Wisperwood, but also amongst our own, a bridge over which understanding might flow freely if nurtured with patience. With each word she shared, and every embrace she returned homeward, Elora felt the weight of her resolve grow lighter. The sisterhood awaited not judgment nor fearful gazes for their guardian's choice, but I